for God's sake did he get vomited up? In Nineveh. You can run, but you cannot hide. So here he is. He's on the land in Nineveh. And he's okay. God's saying, okay, I'm going to ask you again. Get in there. Start telling them we're going to go. They're going to destroy the city if you don't change. You don't repent. And so he does it. And they listen. Even the king put on sackcloth and repented. It says all, great and small, repented. They listened. They didn't listen because it was Jonah. They listened because there was something about this man who was willing to do this. Of course, they didn't know what had happened to him before. They didn't know he'd been swallowed by a fish and puked on the land. All they knew is this crazy man came to tell them this mighty power, the Assyrians, were going to be destroyed. And they listened. So if Jonah can be called to go to Nineveh and to tell them about the news that if they didn't repent and change their ways, that God was going to destroy them, what do we do? What do we do? There was a good question that came up in Sunday school. What's our Nineveh? What's each of our Nineveh? What is each of our call? What is God asking of us? Where is God asking us to go that we're afraid of? It doesn't have to be a place. It can be just what we're called to do. It doesn't have to be a Nineveh as far as a city. It could be a person in your office that you really, really either don't like to talk to, dread running into at the coffee pot. Oh my God, there goes Sally. She's going to the coffee pot. I really need this cup of coffee. Okay, fine, I'll go. What is your call and what is your Nineveh? Each and every one of us have both. The beauty of answering the call for Jonah was they listened. And if these people who hated the Jews as much as Nineveh was known to have done, listened to the point that they turned, what makes you think that if you do what God has called you to do, people won't listen? Why are you afraid? Why are you afraid to step out and say, no, dadgummit, that's not what we're supposed to do. No, we will not accept that. No, this is what God has called us to do because Jesus has told us explicitly what we're supposed to do. It doesn't matter what you're talking about. As long as God is calling you to say it, the people will listen. Now, will everybody repent and turn? No. No. But we aren't called to turn them. We're called to tell them. And if we're not telling them, we're not doing God's will. It amazes me when I hear these people say, I'm a Christian. Sure. But what are you doing? It's very easy to say we're Christian. It's extremely easy to say it. It's easy to say you love someone too. It's easy to say I care about you. It's in the action that we show that we really believe it. We have to be people of action. Jonah didn't get them to turn or even tell them by going the other direction. No, he had to show up. And we have to show up too. We also have to learn from the end of his story. And I think this is the bigger fear. Is that we show up and tell people what God has told us to do, and they don't get what we think they should have gotten, and we get pissed off. We have to be willing to accept the call. We have to be willing to take the action. And then we have to be willing to accept God's will. Acceptance is probably the hardest thing we do. Because we think we've got it all figured out. We know what God wants. That old mean old Hitler, they should have destroyed him. Germany should have just been wiped off the map. We should have dropped nuclear bombs on Syria. God said we are going to go and call them to repentance. And then when they answer to God, God says, I love them as much as I love you. And that's hard for us to accept.
It's not fair.
What's not fair?
It's not fair for them to do all that stuff and we don't do what's so bad. God loves it as much as they love.
Whose opinion is how bad they are and how good we are?
Well, those were horrific crimes.
They were horrific crimes.
And
It's just like we say that about what's happening with the bombers that go into these malls and kill people. You ever heard this little thing called the Crusades? Yeah. So it all comes from where we stand. Of course we're the righteous ones. We're the good ones. God, you need to take care of them. And it's easy to say that. But what if it was your child? What if your child was the one that they thought was bad? Mary faced it. We have to come back to the will of God. And we have to come back to trusting God. The most amazing thing to me is to hear Christian people beat up each other. Beat up and say, how can this happen? Yet, we don't trust God in it. We believe God can do all things, but then we think we have to fix it. Jonah was angry because God did not destroy them. But in the end, he was faithful. He did what he was supposed to do. As somebody pointed out at the end of the story, he also built a little booth and sat to watch to see if the nuclear bombs were going to drop on Nineveh. We have to be about God's work and then let God do God's work. We cannot do it. We are the messenger. We're not the doer. We're the messenger. We're not the judge. Only God has that power. So what I want to ask you this morning, and what I want you to think about as we leave and we think about the story of Jonah, is what is your call? What is God saying to you, I need you to do because you are in a place, I need you to do this thing, and Michael's not? What is it? And will you have the courage to walk into Nineveh and say 40 days more? Will you be willing to walk into downtown and say, let me show you where you can get something to eat? Or can I buy you a sandwich? Will you be brave enough to walk in and say to somebody, you look like something's wrong. Do you need somebody to listen to you? God is calling us each to a call. That may not be your call. Your call might be something totally different. It's why I pray every morning, and you hear me every Sunday. Help us to hear our call and give us the courage and strength to follow it. Each and every one of us are human beings. Human beings flee danger. That's what we do. There are some who don't. I don't believe it's on their own. When a man runs into a burning building, a man or a woman who's a fireman runs into a burning building, or a citizen runs into a burning building to save somebody, I don't think that's them. Something has taken hold of them and they run in. God does that for us. We just have to be willing to accept it. It's not easy. Because we like to say, oh, well, they're bad people and we're the good people and God ought to not do that to them, He ought to do it to us. Or we say, gosh, why did God love them? Look at them. Look at what they're doing. We have to move back to just sharing the good news. We have to come back to say, this is not acceptable. This is what God is telling me I should say. Because if we're giving God's message, they're going to hear it. Now again, I don't think that everything is going to be like Nineveh and they're all going to repent. But what if it's just that one? What if you're the one who has that option, that that person will connect with and hear the message of the good news that they can't hear from anybody else, and you run the other direction because you're afraid? Don't be afraid. God says, I am there with you. If Jonah can do it, God knows I may look like I'm just the natural to stand up in front of people. That was never me. Ever. I sat in the back of the pew. I still to this day, if you see me go into big, large meetings, I don't say a word. I sit there like I'm up on a log. This is not me. This is what God allows me to do because God does it through me. And God can do the same thing through you. God gives us the power of hope. God gives us the strength to go out and do the good works that we do. All I ask you to do is look at what Jonah went through. Look at how much God knew that Jonah was the one that had to do it. And know that God has that for you. Don't be afraid. How many times? How many times? Don't be afraid.
70 times 7.
365 times in the Bible it says, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Don't run the other direction. You may be the one person that God can speak through and that person hear it. God says every morning. What do you read every morning that God says to you?
It says, good morning, this is God. I will be hearing you calling for God.
There you go.
And he said to me one day, read that, shut up.
God says, hear my call. Do what I ask you to do. I got this. Let me do my work. Let me do what you can't do. And don't worry about the outcome.